Welcome, Gunrunner.
One thing I always get asked for on my channel is to cover DOS games more. It's a format I don't really cover that often, aside from the odd time it appears in a 4-play video, and probably the main reason for that lack of love is me having absolutely no nostalgia for the format. I grew up in the UK, as I'm sure you all know, and PC gaming really wasn't much of a thing until the late 90s, and by that time I'd left gaming mostly behind. My only experience with PCs was using them at school. I certainly never knew anyone who used one for gaming, and so thusly never played a DOS game of any kind until the present day. Well, I listened to your cries to give the format some attention, so here we are, as it's the subject of my latest Greatest of All Time video. As with previous Greatest of All Time videos, I put the big question to the members of several large retro gaming groups on Facebook, including the hugely popular and very lively Retro Gaming Hysteria, link in the description for those who want to join, as well as my own loyal subscribers, asking them to name their top 5 DOS games and the reasons why. Following the same rules as before, I awarded 5 points to your first choice, 4 points to second, and so on and so forth. I then counted up those votes to decide the final placings. In the case of games having the same number of points, I then went to the number of votes awarded, followed by the number of first place votes to decide the final rankings. I probably use these tiebreakers more than I have in any other Greatest of All Time video so far. Such was the closeness here, not just in the top 20, but also in the wider top 40, which, as always, will be a Patreon exclusive video uploaded in the next couple of weeks. And I have to say that despite having no real love for DOS gaming, I found this particular poll fascinating, as there is no other that I've run that gives such an amazingly accurate snapshot of gaming history. You see, as I kind of mentioned already, there was a time in the mid-90s, right about the time a certain first-person shooter arrived in fact, that the PC was suddenly taken seriously as a gaming platform, which very much saw the explosion of the FPS genre off the back of that. A type of game that is every bit as popular today as it ever was, if not more. And before that time, the PC was very much seen as the choice for strategy and adventure games. This list captures these two eras of DOS gaming perfectly. There won't be many surprises here, but I'll bet there'll be a lot of nostalgia for those who grew up with the PC as their gaming platform of choice. With all that said, I really don't want to give much more away, as I'm sure you're already guessing what's going to appear, and that makes it a good time to hit the music and get on with the show.
You want to start small, but think tall. That's your plan with computers that can grow along with you. How are you gonna do it? Well, you're gonna PS to it with the IBM PS2. You want to network up and network down. Share information with other towns. A well-organized team. Well, that's your dream. How are you gonna do it? How? You're gonna PS to it with the IBM PS2. You wanna juggle 10 things all at once and still have time to break for lunch. Woo! In your business, you got a bottom line mission. You got to rise above all the competition. How are you gonna do it? Easy. You're gonna PS to it. The solution is IBM. The solution is IBM.
Despite the huge range of different DOS games to choose from, there were certain titles I knew would make this top 20 before I even started, and the iconic Leisure Suit Larry was one of them. This graphic adventure was one of the very first commercial titles aimed at adults only. Another iconic PC franchise, there were lots of votes for games in the Ultima series, but it was this fourth instalment of the legendary RPG that you chose to make the top 20. Given Lord English himself considers this one to be his favourite, it seems only right. And we move on from one popular RPG sequel to another, as in 18th place we find the sequel to The Elder Scrolls. Daggerfall was widely praised at the time for its open world-like nature and the huge map that meant almost endless gameplay possibilities. One of my own personal picks, I still maintain that the original Worms game was the best, and it seems that many of you agree with me. The more pure simplicity makes it easy to pick up and play, and it's still one of the best multiplayer party games of all time.
I'm dead!
What started off as a follow-up to Doom soon became a franchise in its own right, coexisting alongside the game that inspired it, with both receiving numerous sequels. When it comes to first-person shooters, there are very few games more iconic than Quake. Sequel to the iconic Maniac Mansion, which first introduced us to LucasArts' revolutionary point-and-click SCUM engine, Day of the Tentacle proved to be even more popular still, bringing more wacky humour, more locations to explore, and more fiendish puzzles to solve.
Am I upstairs? I got lost.
Seen any tentacles?
What's a tentacle?
Oh, just something I whipped up in my spare time. Made good pets, actually.
Wolfenstein wasn't the only 2D arcade-style game that was turned into an epic 3D first-person shooter, as in 1996 3D Realms did the same with Duke Nukem, and also achieved the same level of success in the process. The key thing that sets this one apart from the rest was its brilliant humour. Well, I just mentioned it, and now here it is. Arguably the most important DOS game of all time, because it was the one that made people sit up and take notice of the PC as a credible gaming platform, and also the one that made the FPS genre a mainstay in popular gaming. One of the many franchises that started out in the DOS era that's still going strong today, Civilization has become an absolute phenomenon, with one of the most passionate fan bases of any video game, so it's not really a surprise to see it feature on this list. From one truly great strategy game to another, as we move from creating civilizations to taking them down. I became absolutely addicted to this back in the day, as it had a near perfect mix of building, crafting, fighting and resource management.
New construction options. Building. I have to confess that this is the first game on this list that I haven't actually played, even though I hear people talk about it in high regard all the time. Often described as Civilization in space, Master of Orion certainly involves many of the same gameplay concepts. The follow-up to X-Wing, which only just missed out on this top 20 but did make the wider top 40, this one very much improved on all the things that made the original so great, with more missions, more spacecraft, more options and a much deeper story too. We already had one Ultima game in this top 20, and now we have another, this time in the top 10 no less, which very much shows the importance of this classic RPG franchise as far as the PC is concerned. This was the first game in the series to introduce real-time combat. The sequel to possibly the most famous DOS game ever, I won't ruin where that one finished. This follow-up sees our hero return from Mars only to find out that the demons he thought he'd beaten there had just moved to his homeland instead, begging for more brutality. Still regarded by many as the greatest RTS of all time, interest in this already legendary game has been revived somewhat just recently by the release of the new Dune 2 movie, which I have to say is every bit as epic as Westwood's wonderful DOS game.
Report affirmative. Yes, sir. Infantry out. Infantry out. Infantry out. House Harkonnen.
The sixth game to use the amazing Scum engine, and the sequel to the incredibly successful Secret of Monkey Island, LeChuck's Revenge, as it's subtitled, brought more of the same, but with a bigger world, a deeper story, and even more great humour too. Released to critical acclaim back in 1992, Star Control 2 is widely viewed today as one of the greatest PC games ever made, and regularly appears in various greatest video games of all time lists, including this one it seems. It still has a really passionate online community too. Another personal favourite of mine, I was really pleased to see SimCity 2000 claim the bronze medal here. While the original game is brilliant, this even more amazing 3D recreation brought it to a whole new level, and offered up almost endless possibilities for the player. Also known as UFO Enemy Unknown, depending on where in the world you come from, this is another game that got a remake in more recent years due to its popularity. Designed by the legendary Julian Gollop, it's a sci-fi themed strategy game of the highest order. I think we all knew that this one was going to be number one, didn't we? Doom was the game that truly changed how people saw the PC, especially as a gaming platform, and killed off many of its rivals like the Amiga and Atari ST in the process. This is the true definition of a game changer.
IBM is going beyond conventional computing by pioneering a way to touch millions of lives.
Raise, blow, you cataract.
They love the hands-on stuff.
Information becomes something with an imagination.
IBM Multimedia.
You can touch so many emotions with pictures and colors and sounds.
It's really wonderfully exciting.
And that runs up my look at the 20 greatest PC DOS games of all time, but which games were you most surprised to see not make the final list? Or are there any games that you don't think were worthy of inclusion in this countdown? I always love to hear the thoughts and views of my audience, so please get typing in that comment section. Before I go though, I must thank all of my loyal patrons and YouTube backers for continuing to support my channel and make videos like this possible. However, I must give special thanks to the following people in particular for their much appreciated pledges: Paul Daniel, Mins, DOS Gamerman, Luke MC, Carl Olsen, Seth Robinson, Grady Haynes, Mark Strickland, Kalimatorn, Trogdor the Burninator, Daniel Skronsky, Ben P. Stein, Tabby Kitsune, David Maddox, Your Eyes Are Bleeding, Classic Gamer 74 and Electron Star Collapse. If you also want to help support all my creative endeavours, including this YouTube channel, then please go and check out my Patreon right now. You can get access to extra content, including downloads, exclusive videos, creative insights and much more besides. I've been the Laird, I thank you for watching and I'll see you all again for another video very soon.